Well, my name's J.R. Feland, and I'm 33 years old, and I live in Utah, and this is Baxter the dog. The poem I'm going to do for you today is called Riding High, and the reason why I wrote this poem is because pretty much everything that happened in this poem has happened in my life. So, the things that I've done on a horse that I thought would be cool, to show that I'm a top hand, a big man, and not just a molecule, because walking through life on two legs sometimes feels like a stagger. But when you're going through life riding on a horse, now that's going through life with a swagger. Well, have you ever bought a horse just to impress? A great big tall quarter horse stallion that you thought would pass the test. Well, I saddled him up and took him over to show off to my pal. And he says, well, you paid twice too much for that pretty looking gal. Well, then one day in high school, in front of some sweethearts, to show off my roping skills, my horse gets a case of the farts. Well, as I loped around the pasture with every passing turn, that horse had let out another toot that'd make my stomach churn. Well, to get these girls to go with me, the horse was my bait. Riding off in the sunset smooching while my horse flatulates. Well, now, on another date with the pretty girl, weaning time it was. To show off my horsemanship skills, I thought that would get an applause. Now, to separate mare and filly, the filly'd stay with the girl. I'd saddle up the mare, take her down to the neighbors, and be back in a whirl. Well, with me on the ground and reins in hand, I led the mare through the gate. 3 sliding bars made of steel. I didn't know what was becoming my fate. Well, I slid the top bar to the pasture closed. It hadn't quite yet latched. Rusty steel and somewhat bendable. Thought I'd be back in a flash. Well, I forgot how small that horse was. She tore the reins right out of my hand, as she made a beeline back to the filly, where they could once again close together stand. Well, her shoulders fit right under the bar real good, but the saddle horn got hooked. Well, she bent that bar with the force of Thor. What a fateful error I mistook. Well, it was like it happened in slow motion. My life flashed before my eyes. As she cleared that bar running back to baby, that bar sprang back and hit me in the eyes. Boom! Well, it knocked the wind right out of me. I laid on the ground in pain. As I looked up at the blue sky straight above, I think I'd sprained my brain. Well, the mare and filly were back together again. 'Twas a beautiful sight. As the sweetheart asked as she pet the mare, that looked like it hurt. Are you all right? Well, I gave a thumbs up. 'Twas barely all I could do. Though I still have the scar on my face to this day, shaped like a bumper of a VW. Well then, when I was about to ask the girl to marry, one day to the house she did come, with her mom to brush the horses. The sweetheart said, that should be fun. Well, one of the horses was getting too snuggly. He was pushing me up against the fence. So I put both hands on his shoulders, pushed him away. In my mind it made sense. Well, on the other side stood the mother-in-law. I had forgot she was so close. I had no idea that when I pushed the horse that he'd stepped on her sandal-covered toes. And what made things worse is that Mom was standing there in clothes that were clean and pressed. But instead of getting bad at me, that horse leaned back and bit Mom in the chest. Well then, when I was engaged to be married, what a good thought I had. We'd get our pictures taken on that stud, but that turned out bad. That stud started bucking. We were both thrown from the horse. The mother-in-law was fuming, so we just sent out the invitations in Morse, you know. Well, even with all the wrecks I've had on horses, they remain an impressive sight. They make us cowboys look good to the sweethearts as we kiss neath the starry night. Well, riding high like Roy Rogers and Trigger is just where I want to be, even if there is a cloud of methane gas trailing behind me. Thanks for watching.